Imagine a beautiful city in the heart of Colombia, but one that, for nearly 2 decades, was the nerve center of an empire. An empire built on blood, greed, and a white substance that flooded the world. This is the story of an era when a single cartel generated tens of billions of dollars annually, turned violence into an art form, and brought a nation to its knees. We will explore the meteoric rise of the Medellín cartel, led by the wealthiest and most ruthless criminal of all time, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. In the 1970s, as the cocaine market was just beginning to take shape, Colombia, with its privileged geography and proximity to Peru and Bolivia, key sources of coca leaves, was the perfect breeding ground for this new illegal industry. Everything changed with the emergence of a group of ambitious, unscrupulous individuals with a clear vision to transform the cocaine trade into a global enterprise. These pioneers included Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, Jorge Luis Ochoa, Juan David Ochoa, Fabio Ochoa. Hailing from a wealthy family of horse breeders with ties to the underworld, they provided the necessary logistics and expertise for transportation. José Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, a former emerald smuggler known for his cruelty and passion for Mexican culture. He brought a brutal military component to the cartel. Carlos Leder Rivas, a Colombian with German citizenship whose vision transformed cocaine trafficking by establishing a direct route through Norman's Cay Island in the Bahamas, eliminating middlemen and reducing costs. In 1976, these men joined forces, forming what would become the Medellín cartel. It wasn't a rigid structure, but rather a business alliance where each member controlled a part of the operation, yet they collaborated to monopolize the market. This alliance, based on trust and fear, was the key to their initial success. They standardized processes, reduced risks, and began producing and distributing cocaine on an unprecedented scale, transforming a niche business into a multi-billion-dollar industry. The rise of the Medellín cartel wasn't just about production, it was about a complex and brutal strategy of control. They developed a massive infrastructure. Industrial-scale production. They established huge laboratories in the Colombian jungles, where coca was transformed into pure cocaine. This allowed them to control quality and quantity. Carlos later revolutionized transportation. He bought the island of Norman's Cay in the Bahamas, turning it into a narcotic paradise for planes, complete with a 2-kilometer landing strip. From there, drugs were easily transported to Florida, the gateway to the U.S. When the island was compromised, they developed other routes, including makeshift submarines and speedboats. Widespread corruption. This was perhaps the cartel's most powerful weapon. With revenues of over $60 million per day at their peak, they could buy anyone. Police officers, judges, politicians, military officers. Escobar's slogan, plata o plomo, silver or lead, became law. You either accepted the bribe or were brutally assassinated. Economic and social infiltration. Escobar invested colossal sums in local infrastructure, building houses, soccer fields, and churches. He was seen by many of the poor as a kind of Robin Hood, which secured him a broad base of support and protection. This philanthropy was a calculated strategy to win loyalty and complicate the authorities' efforts to capture him. Terrorism. Unlike the Cali cartel, which preferred quiet corruption, Medellín adopted a policy of terror. Bombings, political assassinations, kidnappings, all to intimidate the Colombian state and force it to abandon its extradition treaty with the U.S. The extradition of a cartel member meant the loss of their immunity and influence, which is why the fight against extradition was the epicenter of their war. The Medellín cartel quickly became the most powerful drug trafficking organization in the world, controlling over 80% of the global cocaine market and generating billions of dollars annually. As the cartel's power and violence grew, the Colombian state was forced to retaliate. A total war began, a dark period in Colombian history known as narco-terrorism. Assassination of Rodrigo Lara Bonilla, 1984. Minister of Justice who declared war on the cartels was assassinated on Escobar's orders. This event marked a major escalation of violence and made it clear that no one was safe. Extradition and los extraditables. Under pressure from the U.S., Colombia began extraditing cartel leaders. In response, Escobar and his associates, who called themselves los extraditables, declared open war on the state. They used terrorist tactics, including attacks on law enforcement, urban bombings, and assassinations. Assassination of Luis Carlos Galán, 1989. The most popular presidential candidate who promised a relentless fight against the cartels was killed in the middle of his election campaign. This act of extreme brutality shocked the nation and led to an even firmer response from the government. Bombings. The cartel placed bombs in government buildings, shopping centers, and even on passenger planes. One of the most notorious was the bombing of Avianca Flight 203 in 1989, which killed 107 people, including 2 American citizens, in an attempt to assassinate an informant. Rivalries with the Cali cartel. In addition to the war with the state, Medellín waged a bloody conflict with its rival, the Cali cartel. This rivalry turned city streets into battlefields, with thousands dead on both sides. The Cali cartel, led by the Rodriguez Orejuela brothers, adopted a more subtle but equally effective approach based on money laundering and high-level corruption. They often collaborated with law enforcement in the hunt for Escobar, contributing to his downfall. International pressure, the alliance with the Cali cartel, and the determination of the Colombian government gradually weakened the Medellín cartel. Key members were captured, killed, or surrendered. Under overwhelming pressure, Pablo Escobar reached an agreement with the Colombian government in 1991. He would surrender and not be extradited to the U.S., on the condition that he build his own prison. This prison, called La Catedral, was in fact a luxurious palace with a jacuzzi, a waterfall, a soccer field, a bar, and even a nightclub. From here, Escobar continued to run his business and order assassinations. The La Catedral scandal erupted in 1992, forcing the government to intervene. Escobar escaped, triggering a new large-scale manhunt. This hunt, led by an elite group of the Colombian National Police called the Search Bloc, and supported by U.S. forces and even Escobar's enemies, including Los Pepes, people persecuted by Pablo Escobar, became a national and international priority. Pablo Escobar became the most wanted man in the world. He lived in constant flight, hiding in safe houses in Medellín. His network shrank, the loyalty of some of his men began to waver, and his family was under enormous pressure. One day after his 44th birthday, Pablo Escobar was located in a house in Medellín, following a phone interception. During the assault, he tried to escape over the rooftops. He was shot and killed. Photographs of his body lying on the rooftop circulated worldwide, signaling the end of an era. Escobar's death marked not only the end of the Medellín cartel, but also the beginning of a new phase in the war on drugs. The cartel, already weakened by extraditions, deaths, and internal rivalries, rapidly disintegrated. The remaining members were either captured, killed, or joined other criminal organizations.